Our next guest has been a long-time friend of the Da. We've certainly called her a D-alien once or twice. She has always been a friend of the show and kind to us and generous to us, and I don't know why. But she also now has become one of the most scrutinized sports radio personalities in America. It's the great Maggie Gray joining us in studio this morning.
Man, I thought I could get away from the pressure cooker for 1 second. I come on the DA show. I'm called the most scrutinized host in America. Let's get a little more dramatic, DA. I just bared my soul to you in the break, telling you all the things about taking a new job and how crazy it is and how, how it shakes your confidence and you come on and you hit me with the haymaker. Hey, guys. Good morning, America. How are you?
Well,
thanks. Let's just get right into the Mets rotation. Let's just do it.
Maggie, formerly of SI Now and SI.com, hosted a show there daily for years. She also was a part of CBS Sports Radio doing mornings with Moose, who's now one of the co-hosts in the morning with Taz and the Moose.
I know, Taz and Moose, awesome. Like right out of the gate. And I knew that was going to happen, though, because I got put together with Moose by the great Eric Spitz. We had basically never worked together before. And the first show, I was like, this is awesome. It's like he's so easy to get chemistry with. He's just great.
So it worked right off the bat between you.
I knew it instantly. It was like, this is really fun. This is going to be great. We're doing Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. Like, this is not a time slot for your health, No. And so it was just like a pleasure. And it was right from the very beginning. We just clicked immediately.
So that's awesome. So the only question, though, I have is that when you worked with Moose, it was Maggie and Moose.
It was Moose and Maggie.
Moose and Maggie.
Yeah.
Now it's Taz and the Moose.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes him seem like a large woodland creature.
No, it's like the Ohio State University. You just got to put a little respect on the name. Yeah.
Now
he deserves it. Yeah.
Are you the Maggie?
Sure. I'm being called a lot of things. Social media, a lot of different things. A lot of them not good. Well, you guys are on Sirius XM now, right? So maybe we can sprinkle a few of those in.
So, of course, for those that don't know, Maggie is now part of a 3-person team filling the afternoon show, the Afternoon Drive Shoes, left by Mike Francesa on WFAN in New York. The reason I call you the most scrutinized person in America, at least in terms of sports radio, is because in New York, that's a show that is a tentpole real estate show that everybody knows about. And so everything that you guys do, you, Bart Scott, and Chris Carlin, is picked apart and scrutinized.
Yeah. When
you're doing SI Now, you're chilling out. You've got a great rapport with people. People like you. You're interested in them. You're well-read. You're curious. And it's just easy, right? It's just an easy going. Not that the work is easy,
right.
But the shows feel easy.
Well, I was also there for 8 years. So I was able to be, I felt like I was really I became a little bit part of the fabric of SI in a new kind of way just because, the digital video really didn't exist there until me and a couple other very intrepid and very hardworking people got hired to create this sort of thing. So it was like, I was watching an old episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee and talking about this famous thing that a comedian said. It was Lorne Michaels who said something to the effect of, my ancestors came over and they said the streets were paved with gold. And I got here and not only were the streets not paved with gold, they weren't paved at all, and I realized I was the one who's going to be paving them. And that was sort of how we felt at SI doing video. This is completely different. We're walking into, a time slot that's just become an institution in a lot of ways. I mean, Mike Francesa is legendary, but he was also, and this is something I've started to realize, he was like everyone's best friend, weirdly. People listened to him for hours on end. He was there for them Monday through Friday talking sports with them, whether they disagreed with him or agreed with him. It was like people are losing their friend. And now we're here, and it's like the new friends are in town. And do you have that same rapport immediately? No. But, can you give us a chance to be your friend? Maybe.
Well, the early returns are good. There was just a story done on the ratings, and so that's a really cool thing for you guys. But it's weird because I bring this up. When you were doing SI, it was so easy and so comfortable. I joined you a couple of times with that show. When you do the Moose and the Maggie, it's very comfortable. It's very loose. Then you get into this, and everybody is parsing every single word.
Yeah.
Some people ask me, is it ever daunting to do this show? And I say no, because I can't think of everybody that's listening. If I could conceptualize the however many people are listening, it would be too overwhelming. Yes. It would be paralyzing. For you,
yeah, I know.
because everybody is actually parsing your word, is it overwhelming and or paralyzing?
If I start to think about it, it starts to like give me, like my heart starts to race and I think I'm going to have a stroke. So you really have to, no, you have to like let that sort of thing go. The crazy thing about SI was this. Like for all, SI is a great, like you said, great institution. There's a reason why it's been around, for 60 years. It will maintain no matter what. There are too many good people there to let it go sideways. But when we did a segment about LeBron James, I didn't really think LeBron James necessarily was listening to the segment. It was going to get back to him, and then and that was going to be a situation where now LeBron James is going to say something, right? Didn't stop us from being critical, didn't stop us from being thoughtful or being effusive in our praise when we needed to, all that stuff. But this is very different. I mean, we talk about people in the New York market. I'm taking the opposite. I'm assuming that everyone is paying attention and it's going to get back to them. So that's a new kind of pressure. You call it power, whatever it is. And that's something I take really, really to heart. I don't take that lightly. So, big thing for me was when we first got hired and still now it's like, go to Knicks games, go to Nets games, go to Jets and Giants games, and make sure that these people can see you. If I'm going to be criticizing you, I'm going to show you my face. I'm not going to hide behind anything. I'm going to try to go in and do the due diligence and do the work. So when I do get on the air and if I do have to say something critical in this fishbowl, I feel like I'm coming from a place where I feel comfortable enough to say things like that.
Maggie Gray joins us in studio. To that point, you've been seen as the fearless one. On the radio, doing interviews, you've asked some of the hardest hitting questions. Is that a role that you've wanted to take on?
I don't think I could do it any differently. I think that we've all been trying to find our niche when it comes to interviews anyway, because it's hard when you're interviewing one person, you got 3 people. You don't want it to feel like an assault, but at the same time, you need to get answers from people in power. Those are the people you hold responsible, general managers, places where kind of the buck stops there, for lack of a better term. And I've always felt like I've tried to be, not as hard in interviews unnecessarily, but just fair. Just want to be fair. If you have to ask the really hard question, make sure you're researched on it, make sure you're backed up. And, the hard questions don't really exist for everybody. We have Tom Glavine on. I'm not going to put him through the ringer. We just want to get his thoughts on the Mets rotation or the Yankees rotation or what have you. So it's different for every person. But if the hard question has to be asked, I feel like I put myself in the audience's shoes. If I don't ask the question, like, what am I, some kind of hack? I mean, if the audience is thinking, I'm thinking this, why isn't she asking it? I want to put myself in their shoes, but also keep like the journalism part of it.
Well, this is the ultimate irony in sports radio and sports media, is that everybody talks really tough behind a microphone. There's all these blazing hot takes. But when you have the people in front of you on the phone or you've got a microphone in front of them, everybody cowers.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody
it's amazing,
is tough anymore.
Isn't it?
Nobody. And so I've always felt that that's totally unfair, that if I'm going to throw a Molotov cocktail, then I've got to be willing to do that to your face as well. Yeah. And so I've had some uncomfortable interviews because I just find it to be so hypocritical in our industry. The problem is, if you do that to that guy or that athlete on the phone,
sayonara.
You probably never get him again. Yep. And maybe that PR person doesn't hook you up with the next.
Oh, that's a real thing. That used to happen at SI too. I mean, that would happen if we asked something that they were not happy with. I mean, they would tell us, the PR person. This is the worst part, though, about the PR. I love PR people for the most part. They're fine. They have a job to do. I totally understand it. And there's a give and take there, and some people do it better than others. But this was the worst thing, is that they do the interview, right? They're fine with it. They leave. They walk out, and then the PR person after is like, hey, by the way, they were really upset with that question. It's like, what the hell? This happened to me once at a university, right? I was interviewing. I can just tell you, it happened at the University of Michigan. We were there when Rich Rodriguez was still the coach, and he was clearly on the hot seat. I mean, it was like he couldn't even sit down. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And so we started asking him some questions about some things that the Detroit Free Press had reported on, and, it got a little sticky. And we left and we thought that everything was like fair. We know that maybe he didn't appreciate some of the questions, but he understood why we were asking them. We thought we left with totally fine. And then a year later, I called them, was like, hey, do you think we can come back again? They're like,
no
you're
chance.
Persona non grata on this campus. It's like, what? Why did you guys let this go for a year?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just tell me you were upset? Just let me know and then we can talk it out.
Do you feel like any of the criticism that your show has gotten through print or online has been unfair?
I mean, listen, I turned off my mentions a while ago. Should I say that? That was actually advice from Peter King.
Very smart.
Yeah, Peter King from sports. From the
good. So now I know if I ever mention Peter King, he's not seeing it.
No, he's probably hasn't turned back on, but he's got like 2 million followers. I'm not up that high, but not even close. But he was like, listen, just turn them off. Like the only thing that will happen is you'll get bitter, and you're not like a bitter person. And I think he was right about that. I don't think that anything now has been unfair. I don't know. I'm trying to take the athlete approach where I'm telling everyone that I'm not reading it, even though I'm clearly reading it.
Well, I mean, you've walked into a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
It's because you're in New York and it's that time slot and everybody's just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And so on the one hand, it's pretty invigorating and cool to know that it matters that much.
That's true.
And
that's a big responsibility, and that's something you always want that in this business. You
Totally.
You get to a point where you're working in this industry 10, 15 years, whatever it is, and then like you just want the stuff to matter.
Yeah. I think the cool thing, though, is that there's never really been a full-time weekday female host on The Fan. There's been some weekend hosts, some nighttime hosts,
Yeah,
but
Susan
every single
Waldman
day.
was the last.
Way back in the day, and that was probably the 80s, right?
No, I think she was on actually in like the 2000s
right.
a little bit. She had like before she took over for full-time
Right.
for the Yankees.
So it's been a while, though, and I wondered if that was going to be brutal. And I think that, and this is just from the outside, that hasn't been the thing for most people, which is cool.
Yeah, no. It's not. There hasn't been a backlash in terms of that I've been able to tell. If somebody is in their car and they turn it off because they don't want to hear me talking about, the Yankees starting pitching, then what can I do about that? There might be part of this that I can never get over. I mean, people will say like, yeah, I can't listen to her voice, stuff like that. These are just these sort of well-worn sort of things that I hear, and most women in this industry hear, whether it's true or not. People just kind of go towards that sort of low-hanging fruit. But in terms of some of the other stuff, I mean, listen, besides like the totally misogynistic like crap that's on there where it's just like completely, utterly, it's just this 2018 social media, sort of turn toward the awful that we can tend to see. I mean, everyone else has been really respectful. And that's something I found here on CBS Sports Radio. People used to ask me that about Moose and Maggie's show. I'd say, you know what? We did it for 4 years. I could probably count on one hand how many times someone called in and was just like a total dog or something stupid. And that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Very good.
I mean, I'm not saying like the bar is set that low for me, but quite frankly, I was expecting more, and I haven't really got that.
Now, you're a Bills fan.
Oh, gosh.
In Giants and Jets country.
Yeah. I don't think they appreciate that. No, I think at this point, everyone just feels bad for the Bills. Even if we make the playoffs, nobody cares,
Well, you scored 3 points. It took you 20 years to get to the playoffs. You got a field goal out of it.
Talk about your all-time just backfires. You really. I mean, we knew Jacksonville's defense was good, but geez.
Yeah.
Show up. No, this was the worst part of it, is that my husband is also a Bills fan. We met in New York City, but he's also from upstate New York like I am. And when Andy Dalton threw that pass to Tyler Boyd, this is now getting so embarrassing the more I tell it. We popped a bottle of champagne. We are such idiots.
Right?
And it was New Year's Eve, first of all. So we had the bottle on ice.
Oh, so you weren't saving it for the Bills playoffs.
No, it would have been vintage at this point. Yeah. We don't have 90s champagne lying around. No, but we actually popped it. And at the time, we were like, this is the best idea ever. And as it goes further and farther away, and after we just completely, after the team just totally crapped out in the playoffs, it's like, why did we not wait till midnight? That was stupid.
So you're from the Binghamton area.
Yeah.
And so you love
Double A. Tebow's going to be playing there.
No question.
Oh, man.
Right before his major league call-up.
Yeah, right. He's going to Double A Binghamton. That's going to be a frenzy, man.
No question.
It's the biggest thing that happened. I mean, I think the Grateful Dead played Binghamton in like 1972. I don't know what else.
At Broome County Arena?
Yeah.
Very nice.
No, they called it Harper College at the time. It wasn't even the name of the university anymore. But I don't know what else bigger has happened since then.
There's going to be a chicken Speedy named after him. We can guarantee that.
Definitely. And whoever's not on that should get on it.
And my question is, having been from that area and now kind of carrying the flag, do you think that you might end up becoming one of the most famous residents out of Binghamton?
No. Can't be.
No?
No. If I am, that is just such a horrible indictment. No, I will never be. The most famous person from Binghamton is Rod Serling, the creator of The Twilight Zone.
Oh, that's big.
Went to my high school.
That is big.
Yeah.
That
not
is very
going to
big.
get topped. I mean, that was like a game changer. Are you guys watching Black Mirror? I'm like the last person to be on Black Mirror.
I've been told it's going to ruin my mind, and so
It does.
I've kind of held off on it.
Oh, no, you got to dive in.
Got to dive in?
Just be in the mood, and don't make plans for after.
Okay.
Just know you're going to want to sit by yourself quietly. Just think about things for a while. But people have really, they've compared it to the Twilight Zone quite a bit. It's like new Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Maggie Gray joining
Get
us
on it, guys. Come
here in studio. You once told us a story about Bodega Cat.
Yeah, no, I shared an address with a bodega.
You shared an
Lower
address.
East
You
Side.
lived above a bodega,
Yep.
and you got to know the people downstairs
Gus,
and the
all
cat
the guys. Yep.
because you used to come in late from the clubs every night when you
Well,
first
every
moved.
night.
When you first moved to New York. Have you gone back to that bodega recently since you've gotten this new job and now you're a big deal?
Oh, yeah, walk in like I'm here.
Hello,
Yeah, you guys
I'm
remember
back.
me when I was covering high school sports in Staten Island. How far have I come?
Hello.
Champ is here. No, I'd have to. No. They wouldn't remember me from living there. Probably, maybe. I don't know. It's like me, another girl. We were roommates. I met my husband. He lived across the street. I don't think they'd remember me. I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not on like, and this is amazing. The neighborhood was fantastic. It was primarily Dominican building. So
Okay.
unless I was now the afternoon host of 95.9, I don't think that they would actually know who I am. But great station.
Great station. Great station.
The
Maggie,
bachata station.
Maggie Gray. You can follow her on Twitter at Maggie Gray. You guys do amazing, cool stuff on social media every day for the show.
We rip off, just totally ripped off Kimmel.
Yeah,
mean
but
tweets.
you know what? It's
That's
still funny.
They're really mean.
Yeah.
Some of them we actually can't put the meanest ones on because we'd be speechless. Or I would be afraid that Bart would get really upset. Bart's awesome, by the way. Your audience knows him very well.
He's just the best.
He's incredible. We also loved it how in the first month of the show he came on your show, decided to make news.
Yeah.
In a clip that went viral.
That's right.
And we were like, how about a little bit of something for, our show that you're on every day. You're saving the hot takes for DA. Thanks.
It's easier to funnel the hot take into like a 15-minute segment than when you get them for 4.5 hours. You can't tell which is the hot take because for like 4.5 hours, you're like, is that the hot take part? Wait, that's the hot take part? Wait, which is the one? The one where you said that Brady was faking an injury? Right? Just the best. Follow Maggie Gray on Twitter at Maggie Gray. Check them out afternoons, the Afternoon Drive on WFAN with Bart Scott and Chris Carlin. Maggie, you're always welcome around here. Thanks so much and congratulations and everything.
Of course. I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Maggie Gray tomorrow here on the DA show to discuss mango shrimp and trying to eat crow.